What if the biggest royal comeback story of the year was never truly about reconciliation, family healing, or even the Invictus Games? What if something far more valuable was at stake? Children the world has barely seen suddenly finding themselves at the center of a storm nobody expected. Because right now, whispers are spreading across Britain. Royal commentators are raising alarms, and an increasing number of people are asking the same uncomfortable question: why now? Plenty of observers are keeping a very close eye on everything unfolding.
Got a little bit twisted and even more sick. The real reason that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are bringing their children, Archie and Lily, to the United Kingdom next month is not because they want to have some lovely meeting with King Charles, who they have deprived from his brethren for all this time. It is rather as a PR stunt to unveil their faces to the entire world and start bringing in the moolah.
I believe it's an act of desperation. Meghan is impervious to shame.
I do think that she risks being booed if she puts herself out there too much in the UK, and if it weren't unprofessional.
For years, the story coming out of Montecito seemed incredibly simple: distance, privacy, protection. The children were kept far away from cameras, public appearances, and Britain itself. Every glimpse was tightly controlled. Every photograph looked planned down to the tiniest detail. A shoulder, a silhouette, the back of a head. Nothing more, nothing less. Then suddenly, almost out of nowhere, reports began surfacing suggesting the entire family could return to Britain together. Not just Harry, not just Meghan Markle, everyone. And just like that, a whole new wave of questions and unexpected debates started spreading among royal watchers everywhere.
One big game, and I watch people fall for it every time. I will eat my shoe if those children appear at the Invictus Games event alongside Harry. Honestly, I do not.
That revelation hit royal watchers like a thunderbolt because for 4 years, the children were arguably the most heavily protected public figures hardly anyone had actually seen. Every birthday photograph seemed carefully crafted to reveal absolutely nothing. Every family image looked strategically designed to keep curiosity alive without ever fully satisfying it. And now those same children are reportedly preparing for a very public appearance on British soil. The timing alone has people raising eyebrows. But then another development arrived and threw even more fuel onto the fire. Suddenly, fresh questions started spreading everywhere at lightning speed.
Is significant because it's the countdown to Invictus. Now, the countdown to Invictus is a trivial occurrence. I mean, it's something Harry could have jumped on a Zoom and said, okay, folks, a year to go. Good luck. Let's go for it. Why are they all coming for what is a nothing burger? A clear message that the Sussexes want to be back in the royal fold, part of the family, and also some kind of public-facing royal role as well.
Just think about that for a moment. Britain has not seen Archie and Lilibet in years. The last time they were there, the late Queen was still alive. Entire chapters of royal history have unfolded since then. Coronations took place. Relationships fell apart. Interviews exploded across headlines. Books were released. Accusations flew. Yet through all of it, the children remained completely hidden from public view. So why would everything suddenly change now? The official explanation sounds tidy enough on paper. But many observers are still wondering what is really driving this surprising shift. A countdown event, a ceremony, handshakes, photographs, a routine appearance tied to Invictus. Simple enough, right? Not so fast. Critics immediately started questioning whether that explanation really revealed the whole picture. Because if this was simply about supporting a charitable event, why involve the children at all? Why introduce the one factor guaranteed to dominate headlines on both sides of the Atlantic? And that is exactly where the speculation became impossible to ignore. Suddenly, a whole new wave of theories and debates began gaining serious momentum among royal watchers everywhere. The theory making the rounds in royal commentary circles is surprisingly blunt. Some believe this trip is not just a visit. They believe it is a launch. Not a family reunion. Not a healing mission. A launch. And according to that theory, the children themselves have become the centerpiece of something much bigger. Now, whether that theory is true is an entirely different question. But the reason people cannot stop talking about it comes down to one thing: timing. Timing is everything. And right now, many commentators believe the timing is telling its own fascinating story. As a result, royal watchers continue debating what these developments could ultimately mean. Follow the money, they say. Follow the headlines. Follow the attention. Because in the modern celebrity world, visibility is currency. Relevance is currency. Public fascination is currency. And few things spark worldwide curiosity faster than royal children who have spent years completely out of sight. That is why every little detail suddenly starts looking suspicious to people already questioning motives. The failed projects, the fading spotlight, the endless struggle to remain culturally relevant in a world where public interest changes overnight. Critics argue that maintaining celebrity influence demands constant reinvention, constant returns to the news cycle, and constant reasons for people to keep watching. And what grabs attention more effectively than finally revealing something the public has been denied for years? The conversation becomes even more explosive when people start discussing the true source of the Sussex brand's value. Because critics insist it was never the products, the podcast, the documentaries, or the lifestyle ventures. They argue the real value always came from one thing, the royal connection. According to that view, every headline, every controversy, every endorsement, and every public appearance ultimately leads back to the same source, the monarchy, the titles, the institution they walked away from, and the family they remain connected to whether they like it or not. That is why some commentators see this possible return as much more than a simple visit. They view it as an acknowledgement, an admission that Britain still sits at the center of the story. And then comes another uncomfortable question. If privacy was always the top priority, why would the children suddenly become part of such a high-profile event? That question refuses to go away because people remember the years of extraordinary caution, the carefully staged photographs, the strategic camera angles, and the refusal to release clear public images. Nobody protects something that fiercely for 4 straight years by accident. That level of control requires planning. It requires discipline. It requires purpose, which is exactly why many observers are wondering whether that purpose has suddenly changed. Some commentators believe the children have become the ultimate shield, the ultimate way to soften public reactions, because no crowd wants to direct hostility toward children. No camera operator wants to highlight negativity when young faces are involved. No newspaper wants to risk looking cruel. And that is where this story suddenly becomes far more explosive than a simple family visit. Because the second people started talking about the children, another question immediately emerged. Who exactly opened the door for this return? Because no matter how many headlines appear, and no matter how many commentators speculate, a royal comeback of this scale cannot happen without approval from somewhere very close to the top. Suddenly, the conversation shifted from Montecito to Buckingham Palace, from celebrity strategy to royal politics, from publicity to power. Reports started circulating that King Charles III may have quietly softened his position. Not publicly, not dramatically, but enough to create the impression that barriers once considered permanent might no longer exist. And that possibility sent shock waves through royal circles. Because many people still remember the original agreement made years ago when Harry and Meghan Markle stepped away from royal duties. It was presented as a clean break, a firm line, a decision that could not simply be reversed whenever convenient. Yet critics now argue that very line appears increasingly blurred. Because if Britain was truly too dangerous before, what exactly changed? And if nothing changed, then why was the argument pushed so strongly in the first place? Those questions have triggered a fresh wave of skepticism. And while some believe private arrangements may have taken place behind closed doors, others are convinced there is much more happening than the public has been told. Others believe the danger was exaggerated from the very beginning. Whatever the truth may be, critics say the contradictions have become impossible to ignore. But perhaps the most fascinating twist arrives at the end of this story. A surprising number of seasoned royal commentators do not actually believe the children will appear at all. That may sound strange considering the avalanche of headlines, but their reasoning is surprisingly simple. They have seen this pattern before. Huge announcements, massive anticipation, worldwide media attention. Then suddenly, at the last possible moment, plans change. Expectations shift. Details quietly disappear. The headlines remain, but the promised event never fully materializes. And there is another clue fueling their skepticism. Different media outlets reportedly received different versions of the story. One suggesting the entire family would attend. Another implying the children were never expected in the first place. Two conflicting narratives appearing almost at the same time. That is why some commentators are calling it a trial balloon rather than a confirmed plan. A test. a way to measure public reaction before any final decision is made. Because if the children never appear, the family still enjoys weeks of headlines, weeks of attention, and weeks of endless speculation. The mystery stays alive. Curiosity remains unsatisfied, and control stays exactly where it has always been. But if the children do appear, the consequences could be enormous. Every photograph would dominate front pages around the world. Every expression would be dissected. Every outfit would spark discussion. Every interaction would become international news. Either way, the story machine wins. And perhaps that is the most revealing detail of all. Because beneath every argument about reconciliation, family, security, and royal politics lies a much simpler reality. Attention remains the most valuable currency in modern public life. The palace understands it. The media understands it. And perhaps nobody understands it better than the people sitting at the center of this controversy. So now, all eyes turn toward July. Will the children finally step into public view after years of mystery? Will Britain witness the unveiling everyone keeps talking about? Or will this become another royal cliffhanger that disappears at the final moment, leaving behind nothing but questions? Because right now, nobody outside the inner circle truly knows. And that uncertainty may be the biggest clue of all. The closer July gets, the louder the speculation becomes. And the louder the speculation becomes, the more valuable the mystery grows. Somewhere behind palace walls, media headlines, and Montecito gates, decisions are still being made. Which means this story is far from over. In fact, it may just be entering its most dramatic chapter yet.